My name is David Derocher. I'm the President of EastCoast CAD, and I'm joined today by Randy Swaim, my Vice President. Today we're going to talk about building information modeling as it relates to an HVAC duct contractor. We're going to explore some of the information that we've gathered from our customers and prospects and discuss some of the primary challenges and opportunities associated with it. As building information modeling continues to take the main stage, and as it continues to evolve from concept to reality, most notably by showing up in various forms in your bid documents, I wanted to discuss the topic, how we may be able to help you meet your requirements. Some people feel that BIM is a software tool and that true BIM means working directly inside a Revit MEP from building conception to fabrication and then through to facilities management. I strongly disagree with this. BIM is a process that uses various best-of-breed tools to gain efficiencies, eliminate waste, and provide data exchange that enables collaboration both internally within your own organization and with the other players on the construction project. As a software vendor, we often find ourselves on the front line answering questions about our BIM integration capabilities. In my experience, most contractors I speak to are uncertain about what is needed today and what is coming in the future. Many of their comments and questions come from information that they have gathered from or been presented by Autodesk sales and marketing, third-party software vendor sales and marketing, industry trade shows and publications, peer groups, and real project bid documents. The information gathered from the first three resources is interesting, it's informative, and it should certainly be considered. However, I believe that the focus should be on the last two items, your peer groups and your bid documents. These two are the most useful in looking at the real challenges you and your fellow contractors are facing today. While BIM may be a modern term, much of what it teaches is not a new concept for contractors. Many contractors like yourselves have been working in 3D and have established BIM-like workflows to make your shops more efficient for over 30 years now. The difference today is that BIM is becoming a standard requirement on projects, and the rest of the construction industry is now coming on board. This presents both opportunities and challenges for contractors. With the rest of the industry becoming involved in BIM, more and more contractors are able to get their hands on real 3D engineered models of the buildings, both prior to bid and when the job is awarded. As these models continually become available, folks using East Coast design to fabrication tools have a clear advantage. Our software tools can be used to streamline your existing internal BIM workflows, take advantage of new BIM opportunities, and meet the needs presented by new BIM challenges. And with that, I'm going to switch over to Randy Swaim so he can give you a presentation of how you can take advantage of the 3D engineering drawings that are becoming available.
Thanks, Dave. We're going to take the design to fabrication and be able to bring the Revit model into AutoCAD MEP and assign it intelligent fabrication data up to 30 times faster than the traditional method of bringing in a background and drawing on top of it. Now, we're not under the delusion that you can bring in a Revit model and just push a button and have it ready for fabrication. But you do get a good layout, and you can go through here and have an established workflow of how to go through here and correct issues not caught by the engineer or not known by the engineer. In almost every instance that we've sold the design to fabrication software, we've taken a client's model and brought it in and showed them the established workflow. In some cases, we've brought it in internally and then had our client bring it in theirs, and they exceeded our benchmark testing. So they've actually brought it in faster than what we did internally. So to demonstrate that, though, I want to take this Revit model, and I want to start bringing this into the AutoCAD MEP and assigning it intelligent data as we do. As we look at the model, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to the view, and I'm going to come over here and go to my filters, and I'm going to turn off some of the items in the model so that I can just import a particular system. So in this case, I'm going to start with exhaust. So if I come over here and I highlight over the exhaust and hit my tab key, that makes that selection. Now I just come up here and say I want to go through here and I want to export this selection. And as I export this selection, I'm just going to override the file that I created earlier. So I'm going to make this my exhaust, and yes. Now I can come back here and say I want to hide that element, so when I come back to get the rest of that exhaust, this other is not already shown. So now I'm going to jump into the AutoCAD MEP platform, the preferred working platform. And as I move back over here, I'm going to come back in here and tell it that I want to bring in my duct. But before I do it, I want to show you what this is looking for. So if I go over here to duct fabrication preferences, it loads up here that I'm going to bring this in as a 2-inch water gauge spec. But I can have multiple of these setups set up into any folder I want, my low pressure, medium pressure, high pressure, and bring it into whatever pressure file I choose to. So I've got it set to come into my 2-inch, so all I'm going to do is come up here to go to my insert. I want to insert a Revit model, and there's that exhaust. And we're going to let that bring that in. And you'll notice down here in the lower left-hand side of my screen, there's a little status bar that's indicating the percentage complete. This little exhaust model might take a minute to come in. But when it brings it in, it's assigned intelligent data. It knows that it's got slip and drive connectors. It knows that it's a certain gauge and certain locks, everything that's going to be needed for fabrication. And you can see that's brought that in. I'm going to go ahead and flip this over into an isometric plane, and I'm going to run another command on this. So I'm going to come right back here to home and say, let's go through here and break this down into my fabricatable sections. So based on the connector type and our sheet width, in this case we're using 60-inch sheets, and it's going to be a slip and drive connector, so we're going to end up with finished joints, or 59-inch joints in here. So we'll let it go ahead in there and runs the duct brake on it. And then as we move back in here, if I click on any one of these parts, there's that elbow right there, and I go to the Extended Data tab down here, here's all the information of how this ductwork is being fabricated. That was assigned from basically a dumb model coming over from Revit. But we want to come through here and we want to establish our workflow and clean up a few things in the drawing first. So if I just come down to my command line here, I'm just going to type in display, and I want to go ahead and add a display theme. I've set this display theme up to come through here and highlight for me joints under a certain length. So I can make decisions of what I want to do by clicking onto a joint and saying, well, maybe I want to go ahead and add that to the throat of that elbow to eliminate that short piece. When I move into a scenario like this, maybe I need to have that end at that location, but I can take and say I also can move this along the line to put it back here, or I'll say go ahead and add that to the throat of the elbow. As we move down our model, I'm going to go ahead and make these corrections. So I'm going to click on this short piece and say I want that to be added to my transition. When I come over here, I'm going to do the same thing on this one. I want to add that to my transition. And now we'll just move over here. We've got a couple more pieces that I want to correct. There's a very short piece I want to add to that elbow right there. So I'm just going to go ahead and modify that. And then here it looks like they've got a short piece here I want to get rid of. So I'm going to go ahead and modify that. But here they've used, it looks like 3 fittings here to do a little offset. I'm going to take this offset and just get rid of that by going ahead and hitting the delete key. And now I'm just going to go ahead and click onto this piece and click onto this piece. And up here now I can tell it what kind of fitting I want to insert in there. I want an OG fitting. So I'm going to say go ahead and apply that. So that's applied that fitting for me. As I move back down here in the model, I also notice another scenario here where they've added quite a few pieces in here I want to get rid of. So I'm just going to go ahead and select some of these pieces to delete. And I'll get rid of that one as well. And now I'm going to come back here and I want to go ahead and I want to add that in. So if I come back here, click and click here, we'll just come back over here and say now we want to add in an OG offset here. We got rid of 4 fittings and replaced it with 1. So now we have our model here. And I'm going to go ahead and set this back into plan view. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit the top view here. I'm going to spin that back around to the position I want it in. And so as we go ahead and we'll set that up here. So now as I come back here, maybe I want to come back in and add some additional information here. Maybe I need to add some hangers into this. So by just clicking onto a piece of duct here, I can come back in here now and tell it that I want to go in and I want to add my hangers. So as I go to add hangers, I can give it here all the information about my hangers. I can give it the elevation I want to hang from up here. And I'm going to say, okay, maybe I want to put a blue banger up there at the top of that. So I'll go ahead and hit OK and let it go through here and calculate my hangers for me on down my main run there. So in just a few seconds there, that's come back and that's added some hangers. If we come over here and flip that up into a different view, you'll be able to see the hangers that were added in the model there. But now maybe I want to come back and I want to put some part numbers or I want to put some text down on this. So by coming back here, I'll say I want to put part numbers down. I want to go to my duct part number. I want to attach that to the model. And I have lots of variables here about how I number the ductwork. Different frames to put the numbers in, how many digits, do I want to assign a system to it, what type of duct do I want to number, a lot of different information. I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK and then just touch my first piece of duct there and let it go ahead and go through the numbering process. We also have the ability to come in here now and say maybe I want to auto tag part of this. So simply by coming over here and selecting part of that run, I can have it come in through here and put automatic text information here for elevations, sizes, etc. But when I come back now, maybe I want to start fabricating some of this in my shop. So if I come back, I'm going to go back here and I'm going to go open up my fabrication palette, and I'm going to come over here first of all and say maybe I want to create a duct spool, and I want to go through here and I want to add a new category, and I'm going to rename this category to be Exhaust 1. So we've got that as our category. Now I'm just going to say I want to create this as a spool. So maybe I want to take, let's say, these two pieces of duct and that tap right there, and I want to create those as an assembly. So as I go ahead and right-click, it now can generate me a drawing on that by just clicking Generate and then clicking Open. And now I've got a drawing here with that two pieces of duct in my tap with the cut lengths of the parts and the counts of the fittings. But this is a viewport, so I can take this and say, well, I'd rather see this maybe in a plan view, maybe running this way, and now go back and reattach all the part numbers. Then maybe I want to come back and say, let's add the duct dimension now as to where we cut that tap in. So just that easy, we can go through here and create fabrication drawings of manifolded systems. Next, maybe I want to take this right down into fabrication. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say I want to close this spool drawing. Let's go ahead and close that out. I'm going to come back now and say I want to do a pick-off on this duct. So as I go back to do a pick-off here, again, I'm just going to define what I want to pick off and tell it, do I want to pick off both numbered and numbered, the shapes, the statuses, and we'll go ahead and we'll just select that. And now that's created me a pick-off file over here that I can now come back and say, let's generate that file and send that into our CAM software. So by going ahead and hitting Generate there, that's generated that file for me. Now on this elbow right here, that's elbow number 41, we extended that throat quite a bit on that. If I move down here to my DuctMaker program now I want to import that into my CAM software. So I'll know that that's going to be in my documents and under here and under my drawing 2. And as we come back in here, we'll see here's today's date with that pickoff. So I'll go ahead and bring that in. That's brought all that information into the CAM software. This is now ready to nest and create tickets and various reports right out of the CAM tool. And if we come through here and we look at elbow number 41, as I move down through here to find that elbow, I'm going to come through here and see where that one is, and we'll just look at that. And now you'll see that that brought that in with the extended throat on that. So that's all been brought into the CAM software. We simply just go to Layouts, say now go ahead and create the nest. And now it's going to create all my nesting diagrams for all that ductwork. And now the tickets, the reports, etc. But I want to go back into the model now, because now I want to take this and I want to send this out to estimating as well. So I'm going to come over here to Estimate tab and just say I want to go over here and I want to attach my estimate data. So as I go ahead and swipe the model here and enter, that brings up my work structure breakdown. And I'm going to call this is going to be my CSV. I'll just abbreviate there for the theater. Maybe I'm going to say this is the main zone. And we'll just go ahead and we'll say OK with that. What that does, that creates me a structure over here that I can now select and say now I want to go ahead and export that information out to the demo folder again. And again, I'm just going to call this CSV exhaust. So we'll just go ahead and call it CSV exhaust and save that. Now from that point, I can come back and I can open up the quote software sheet metal estimating program. I'm going to go ahead and maximize that. And I'm going to tell it that I want to come through here and I want to go to my jobs and I want to add a job. And again, we're going to just add this CSV job and OK. Now when I come back over here, I want to come in here and I want to add a zone. And again, I called that main. And we'll just OK that. So now it asks me here what specs do I want to map this to in the estimating. So it goes through here and it does your mapping for you. Okay. And now we're going to come back here and say, let's go back up here to BIM. And let's say we want to import that EastCoast CAD file. So I'm going to say I want to import the file. And again, here's that exhaust file right here. So I'm just going to double click that and let it go through here and start importing it. But it's going to ask me a couple of questions first. It says, do you want to use the previous spec mapping or do you want to remap? If I say I want to remap, I'll just come through here and pick the pressure file that I want that to come into. Now it's asking me for about the liner and the wrap, and I'll just say use the previous files on the liner and the wrap. And now it's generating us an audit trail of everything in that model to come through here and get our estimate data off of. So it's going to come through here and estimate this project with your data based in the quote software estimating product. And we'll let it go ahead and finish bringing in all these parts, and then we're going to go ahead and we'll look at what the total is on the estimate. So you can see it's just about done. It's about 80% complete. And we'll let it go ahead, and then we'll jump back here to the zone and get a total on it. So that brings in all of our items for us. And we'll just go through here and we'll just OK that. So now when I come back here, if I go back up here to File and say I want to go to my zone information, now it's calculated that that little exhaust system was worth $8,637.77. But when I come back into CAD now, I'm going to open this back up, and I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to click back down onto the Quote Express icon and say I want to now import that labor and material back into my model. So now from this point, when I come back over here and I click onto this part, here it has my breakdown for my fabrication, my install, everything built out, and that one elbow right there is worth $105. So now we can come back and we can run different reports out of the CAD model by just simply coming over here and saying, I want to come over here and run an estimate report. So if we go back over here to that and look back over here to our estimate report, again, just by saying I'm going to install this section today, I've come through here and I've got my total hours listed out right through here. So total install there is 22 hours to install that little portion. And that's how we take that all the way from Revit down into AutoCAD MEP, assign the intelligence to it, and then send it out to fabrication, to estimating, and to create spool drawings.
Thanks, Randy. Appreciate it. Yep. At the beginning of the presentation, we talked a little bit about BIM bringing opportunities and challenges to contractors. We've discussed some of the lucrative opportunities associated with BIM, but I also wanted to explore some of the challenges. Project deliverables for communicating with the other stakeholders on the project are changing. They can vary widely from project to project. They're not always well understood, even by the folks that are making the requirements, and as such, they're not always clearly defined. Some of the more common deliverables include DWG, DWF, and PDF for approvals, Navisworks for coordination, DWG, ACES solids with annotations, RVT and IFC for as-builts, and IFC with COBie data for facilities management. ECCAD for AutoCAD MEP provides lots of functionality to share model data in various formats and currently supports DWG, DWF, PDF, Navis, ACES solids with annotations, IFC, COBie, and more. East Coast participated in and won the 2013 COBie Challenge for our focus group, the mechanical duct, pipe, and plumbing contractor. For those of you that aren't familiar with COBie, COBie promises to digitize the documentation handover required to operate and maintain the building for the life of the building. More recently, we've heard from prospects and customers that native Revit MEP deliverables are showing up on their project bid documents. For this reason, we're currently developing the capability to export your AutoCAD MEP construction models back to Revit MEP natively. We look forward to presenting that functionality in a future upcoming webinar. East Coast design to fabrication software tools support your current workflows. They work well for today's requirements. They're adaptable to meet future BIM requirements, and they should help you make the most of new opportunities. We did mention during the presentation that we're going to be pushing data back into Revit. So Randy showed you how you could take a Revit MEP model and then bring it into our AutoCAD MEP program so that you can apply all of your fabrication detail to the model and work in a platform that's more familiar to a lot of contractors and has a more proven reliability for contractor detail. But we recognize the fact that some folks are seeing a requirement to present the information back into Revit MEP, most commonly for your as-built information. And we are actively working on that project. It's well underway, it's well understood, and you'll be seeing that in the next release of software that we provide here. We certainly do appreciate you taking the time out today to listen to us and hear our opinions on building information modeling as it relates to sheet metal contractors. And certainly if you do have any comments or questions that you'd like to share, we appreciate any of that information that you're willing to share with us, and you can reach out to either Randy or myself with our contact information here on this slide.